Hey y'all, thank you so much for joining me on another video. I really appreciate you guys taking the time and watching my videos and joining me on this journey. And I really appreciate the shares I've gotten and the feedback. Y'all are great. Just keep sharing, keep giving me feedback. I love it, and I want these videos shared as I've stated in other videos so that way I can help others. And it kind of ties into what I want to talk about today. In Genesis chapter 50, verse 20 in the KJV, it says, "But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive." Now, that's what I'm wanting to do, and that's what I'm going to talk about today, suggesting for you any evilness that has happened to you over the years, whether it be abuse or any trauma of some kind, turn it into good. Because not only will it help emotionally, because doing what I'm about to describe is been just as therapeutic for me as others have described that it has helped them. But it also kind of undoes the hurt. At least it has for me. Um, Pretty much from the day that I called the police on my ex, I had become determined that I was going to do something positive for abuse survivors, whether it's domestic abuse or sexual abuse or any other type of abuse. Um, I didn't quite know what I was going to do. I kind of figured I would do videos, kind of like I'm doing now, but I wasn't sure. I was toying with the idea of a book, and I'm still gonna write that book eventually. I don't know how I'm gonna format it yet because I don't really want to tell too much of what my kids have gone through without their permission because it's their stories to tell. I've said that before, that if they say I can tell their stories, then I will. But I'm not going to take away their privacy. I mean, I signed up for this. I'm doing these videos, not looking for any privacy, signing my privacy away basically. But they didn't sign up for this. That's why I don't even mention their names, because they have a right to their privacy and tell their stories on their own or have their stories told with their permission. But I want to, I wanted to do something for abuse survivors and current victims. Because, like God says in the Bible, I wanted to take what man meant for evil and turn it into good. Um, the way I feel is that with all the turmoil that I had gone through from, I don't know, time I was 8 or 9 years old, if I can take that and turn it into good, man, that it'll make sense out of what I endured, and it'll kind of undo what I went through. I mean, the hurt will always be there, um, but these videos alone that I've been doing have been so therapeutic. Y'all have no idea. Because in doing these videos, I get a lot of things out, off my chest. And in talking out loud about them, it helps me deal with them and maybe come up with another way of healing from it. But it helps so many people. I have had feedback from friends that I grew up with, friends that, one friend I've had since I was a little girl. Um, I want to say 7 or 8 years old, maybe. I grew up with this friend. She lived next door to my grandparents, and her family treated me and my sister like we were part of the family, treated my grandparents like they were part of the family. And when I started putting out these videos, she actually messaged me and said that she had gone through very similar with a previous marriage and that it helped her process some things. Y'all, right there. That's why I'm doing this. Because if what I went through can help others, even if it doesn't prevent them from going through multiple years, multiple decades of abuse, if it at least helps them heal from it, or if nothing else, lets them know that they're not alone, oh my gosh, then that right there, I've been successful in what I've wanted to do. Because I don't want to give any of my abusers the last word. And that's what I'm suggesting for you. Don't give your abuser the last word. Don't let what that abuser did to you, or multiple abusers did to you, turn things into something that's so horrible that you don't want to talk about it. Because if you don't talk about it, not only can you not heal, others may not learn how to heal. Because let me tell you, every abuser that I have has had isolated me more and more each time, all the way through to my ex. And a thing that the enemy will put in your mind is you're the only one going through it, or nobody's going through what you're going through, or even minimalize what you're going through. Oh, it's not that bad, They may do it the opposite way and say, oh, it's not that bad. Others have gone through worse. Well, yeah, there's always somebody out there that has gone through worse than I have. But it doesn't take away from the hurt that you have endured. It doesn't take away from the trauma, from the damage that was done. It's different, not less. And in getting your story out there, turning what was done for evil into good. That gives God the last word. And then it also gives you the last word. It puts control back into your hands because an abuser has the control when they abuse you because they can't abuse you if they don't have control. So they do whatever they can to gain the control and then to keep the control even after the abuse has stopped. And that's what I'm learning because there's still times, excuse me, that I get angry at my abuser. Yesterday at my therapy session, oh my gosh, y'all, a memory came up. It was a trigger over something that one word that my therapist said, and he wasn't even trying to trigger me. We were talking through the process of a particular thing that kind of triggered me in the past, and bam, one word set me into a loop. Not a loop, a tailspin. It set me into a tailspin. Fortunately, in going through dealing with triggers, I was with my therapist for one thing, and for another thing, I had multiple um, sessions of how to deal when triggers come up, that I didn't completely lose it like I may have in the past. And that's a victory in and of itself, that I did not totally lose it. And it felt good. But triggers come up at the drop of a hat. I mean, we were talking about something that happened weeks ago, and that brought up a memory. And that's going to happen. And every time that happens, I know for me, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, that makes me think, oh, I can't do this anymore. I just want to curl up in a corner, forget it ever happened, and push it aside. But the problem is that's what the abuser wants. That puts the ball in the abuser's court. So I'm the type of person that pretty much handles something head on. If there's something that needs to be dealt with, bam, I'm running in there. A lot of times like a bull in a china closet, but I run in there because, and I never used to be that way. I used to be scared to handle things. Part of it anxiety, part of it because of the abuse and not wanting to have any more conflict because I don't like conflict. I'm learning to deal with it. I still don't like it, but I'm learning to deal with it and handle it a lot better. It's a work in progress. But in doing all of this and turning what I went through into a positive, I'm taking the control out of every abuser's hands and putting it into mine. Because my abusers would love nothing more than to know that I still think of them and that I'm still traumatized by what they did and that I'm still incapacitated by what they did. Um, but I'm not. I'm a survivor. That's why my username is Survivor, because that's what I am. And I didn't get that way overnight. Um, I've been going to therapy for almost a year now, and I've been going for 10 months, and it's taken 10 months worth of therapy to get even this far. I still got a long ways to go, y'all. But what's helped getting back to it is turning what I did, turning what happened to me into something good. I'm not stopping because I'm putting these videos out on every venue that I can put them on. Um, and I'm telling anybody that will listen about these videos that I'm going to start getting. Um, I'm going to figure out a way to get some cards, like business cards, and pass them out that way because I want that word out. I'm tired of abusers having the last word. I want to give us as survivors the last word. That's why I don't refer to myself as a victim. Even when I was still with my ex, towards the last year or so, when it became pretty obvious that I wasn't going to have a choice but to leave. In one particular fight, which we fought literally every day, it was a rarity that we went a day without fighting. It was even more rare that we would go more than 2 days without fighting. And on one particular fight, he was basically accusing me of what he was doing and saying that I'm acting like a victim. Um, that was his way of controlling me. His way of downplaying what was going on, so that would mess with my head and make me to where I didn't think what I was going through was really that bad. And so that way I wouldn't call the police because he knew what he was doing was wrong. But he did whatever he could to keep me from calling the police. And a lot of it was mind games. And this particular fight, he was saying, "Oh, yeah, go ahead, talk to the people. Tell them how you're my victim." I snapped up. My back straightened up straighter than a ruler. I looked him dead in the face and I said, "I am nobody's victim, let alone yours. Do not call me a victim." I mean, he was shocked as anything that I did that. And quite honestly, I was too. It really shocked the daylights out of me because I didn't realize I felt so strongly about it. Because I, even when I was raped, uh, 33 years ago, I stopped calling myself a rape victim after about 6 months because I realized that I was giving the rapist power. He had power over me. I was acting like a victim. I was his victim. That made me part of him. So I started calling myself a rape survivor. I survived the rape. I did what I could to survive it because he claimed he had a gun. I don't know that he definitely did, but he claimed he had one. So I went on that assumption that he did, and I did what I had to do to survive. And so I started calling myself a survivor. Because when you call yourself a victim, you get into that mentality that there's no help for you. And then you get scared to even seek help. I know. I'm speaking from experience. Now, not everybody goes through this. Some people are able to immediately pop back up and go on and heal. Others, it takes decades. There's no right or wrong way on how you heal, just as long as you're healing. Whether it takes a minute or a millennium, doesn't matter. As long as you survive, as long as you're healing. And that's part of the healing process, is turning what you endured into something good. Because, like I started to say earlier, I'm not stopping with these videos. I'm going to start advocating for abuse victims or abuse survivors and even current victims, because you were victimized. It's just when you're getting out of it, and if you call yourself a survivor, that helps a mentality thing. It helps your mind heal. But I'm going to start advocating for survivors of sexual abuse, sexual violence, because I'm a survivor of both. I was sexually abused and had sex used as a violent tool against me. And physical abuse, like what happened with my father, and domestic abuse, like what happened with my ex. I'm not giving them the last word. I'm turning all of this for good. I'm advocating. I'm getting the word out there. I'm letting others know what I went through, bearing my soul in order to help others. Is it scary? Oh my goodness, you have no idea. People call me brave, and I'm not brave. I'm just doing what I need to do. Because I got this thing about vulnerability, and I don't like being vulnerable. But if I don't put myself out there and be vulnerable, then others will keep going through what I went through and not get out of the situation. What these videos, they won't prevent abuse. This is a broken world. There's always going to be some sort of abuse. Physical, emotional, sexual, whichever. But if I can help lessen that abuse, oh my goodness, y'all. I will thank God Almighty for using what I went through to help others. Because I've always been wired to want to help others. That's just me. I feel the most satisfied when I'm helping others. And so for me, that's very therapeutic to have these videos, to do advocating. I'm now getting ready to start bring awareness for sex trafficking, because the state I'm in is right on a really busy corridor, interstate corridor. Um, this state is right in the middle of an interstate that goes from east to west. So there's a lot of sex trafficking that goes on that passes through the state. And I want to bring awareness to that, even though I was never um, a victim of sex trafficking. It's just something that's dear to my heart and I want to help. And being an abuse survivor, I can use a little bit of what I know on that aspect to help sex traffic victims and survivors. And I want to help teenagers because they're kind of like the forgotten cause. People want to help little kids, and they should. People want to help women who've gone through domestic abuse and men who have gone through domestic abuse. Because, y'all, there are men that have gone through domestic abuse, and it's harder on them because there's this stigma. Because, you know, it's this stigma that a man should never let a woman get the better of him. But when men are abuse victims too, it may not happen as often as with a man abusing a woman, but it happens. And that's what I want to do, is help all victims, all survivors. I want to help all victims become survivors. And that is so therapeutic. I mean, I keep reiterating that because it is. Because you're putting your knowledge into what you know to help others. And as I started to say, and I got distracted, helping teens. Because y'all, teens go through a whole lot. They go through changes with hormones and growing up, trying to be independent, but still wanting mom or dad around, not knowing how to navigate that. And people think, oh, a teen, they're trouble. You know, no. Teens need love. Teens want love. So I want to help teenagers, especially within the foster care system. Because within the foster care system, the highest need is for teen placements because people don't want to deal with teens because it's not easy, but it would be worth it. And I want to use my knowledge for that. So, in a nutshell, take what has happened in your life that was really horrible and turn it to good. Do something with it to turn it into good, because it's healing and it helps others. Because let's face it, there's not enough people helping others in this world. Oh, there are quite a few that are helping others, but there's always room for more. That's what God calls us to do, is to help others. So if I can take what I went through and help someone else heal, or even help somebody see, oh my goodness, what I am going through is abuse, then I've done my job. Because there were things I went through with my ex that I didn't even think was abuse. Um, I had, I used to collect unicorns, unicorn statues, anything unicorns. I was the easiest person to buy for, like Christmas or birthday. If it had a unicorn on it, I loved it. And my ex knew that there was a couple of unicorn statues that he had given me over the years that he knew I loved. And a lot of the statues that I got meant a lot to me because of the memory behind them. Not necessarily the statue itself, but the memory associated with that. And he would break them in the fit of rage and anger against me to get back at me for whatever I did in his mind. He would break those statues. It wasn't until I used to be on Twitter, I'm not now, but I was following a woman on Twitter that was an abuse survivor. And she talked about how um, her abuser would break things of hers, and that in several states, that's actually considered domestic abuse or domestic violence. Y'all, that like, by this time I had seen that after I had called the police on my ex. But I'm like, man, I dismissed what he did as stupidity, childish behavior, you know, any number of things. But it was abuse. And I didn't know that. He had been doing that since for the uh, gosh, 25 years just to get back at me. He would break things of mine. And I didn't think of it as abuse because I didn't know. So that's why I do these videos, so that others will know that even something like breaking your things, that something that's yours, doesn't matter what it is, a statue, sunglasses, whatever. If they purposely break something that's yours to get back at you for whatever reason, that's a form of abuse. Because it's a way of trying to control you. Because that's what he would do. That was a way of him controlling me, because he would want to get the reaction out of me that he was seeking by breaking that particular statue. And it would get me to really be upset, to cry, and to totally bawl because of the memory that was lost, because that statue wasn't around anymore. And that's how he would control me, because I would try not to react. I would try not to do anything that would get him to do something like that. So I will stop this video right now. You guys have a wonderful week. And if you take nothing else away from the videos that I do, don't let other people control you. Don't let the abuser control you. Even if you've left and now you're picking up the pieces of your life, with you, and if you have children, and moving on, turn it into something positive. Give yourself and God the last word. You guys have a good week. And don't forget to send me an email, godswoman.ph@gmail, or message me in the comments. I'd love to hear your questions, and if I get enough questions, I'll have a Q&A video. You guys have a good day and a good week. Bye.